Hello everybody, the World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth pre-patch has launched, which adds a ton of the features coming in the upcoming expansion to the live game. Before we talk about all of those changes, the footage in the background is from the Battle for Azeroth beta, because my interface is totally broken on live servers, so I figured I'd get some footage from the beta instead, which is good because there is actually nothing to do on the live servers that wasn't already there at this current time, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be there. So next week, at the beginning of next week, I think it's on the 24th, the first set of content launches, and you're able to do a couple really cool events that build up towards the launch of the expansion. And on top of that, you have all of the class changes that are currently added into the game from Battle for Azeroth. So, like, artifact weapons are now, all of the talents that were in them are now gone. They're no longer usable. Your artifact weapon is just a big stat stick, which is good because it's a good weapon. On top of that, all of the classes got their talents reworked in some way or another to accommodate for the removal of the artifact weapons. And many of those talents that were in the weapons have now been incorporated into the classes, either as a passive or a talent option. And then on top of that, they've also gone through and done a stat squish, which means, you know, if you were doing 1,000,000 damage before, you're going to do like 100,000 damage or something like that. You know, that's the idea of it. So it just squishes all the stats down to more reasonable numbers where you can actually kind of understand them. They are rather small numbers, but it's not kind of nice to be able to manage those numbers compared to the millions and millions of damage we were doing in Legion. And then with that, everything in the world got scaled to those numbers as well. So it's basically the same as it was before. It's just the numbers are a lot smaller. So what is coming in the pre-patch that you're able to do? Well, first off, I believe this is the perfect time to start playing World of Warcraft if you've never played it before, or if you've lapsed your subscription. We'll talk about that more later, but essentially this is the best time to get into the game, especially for new players. Coming this next week, you have the Burning of Teldrassil questline that starts, and it's a 3-week event that each week has new stuff, and by the end of it, you get a faction-specific mount, which are really cool looking, and then at the end of those 3 weeks, that week leading up to the Battle for Azeroth launch, you get the Battle for Lordaeron event, which you've probably seen if you've looked at any beta content, but that will basically be the launch of the expansion. So what happens on the Burning of Teldrassil? We don't know exactly. We know it's a quest line in the Darkshore, and it's for both factions, and both factions have like 2 different versions of it. So you're kind of seeing it from different perspectives. But by the end of it, Teldrassil gets burned down, which is the Night Elf starting area. It's a big tree in the middle of the ocean. It just gets completely demolished. And because of that, the Alliance get really pissed off, and they come and they attack the Undercity. And that's when the Battle for Lordaeron happens, and they destroy the Undercity. So both of those events are really, really cool, and it is a good lead up to the launch of the expansion. But at the same time, it is a staggered amount of content. So, like I said, over the next 3 weeks, starting on the 24th, you'll start getting content each week, but it's not going to be something that you can go through and just do all of it all at once. If you're looking for any other content to do in the game leading up to the launch, and you've been playing Legion, there isn't really a whole heck of a lot. You just kind of have to go and get used to your new talent setups, your new class changes, and stuff like that. However, if you log in this week, you can go to your order hall and the chest, your Mythic Plus chest. If you haven't done a Mythic Plus, it's still going to be there. You go and loot it, and it will give you 1,000 of the currency to go get a free legendary from the vendor. So, if you haven't played in a while, you can go get quite a bit of stuff right off the bat. But outside of the Burning of Teldrassil and the Battle for Lordaeron, the amount of content that is there is basically the same stuff as in Legion content. However, they did add war mode. So one thing that they've done is they've completely removed the concept of PvP servers. So if you were on a PvP server before, it's no longer a PvP server. If you're on a PvE server, it's no longer a PvE server. They're just servers. They're either roleplay servers or non-roleplay servers. So those still exist, but the PvP lines have been removed. Now, when you're in your faction capital, you can opt into war mode, which means that in the world, there will be other players that are PvP flagged. So you'll come across another faction, like an alliance player, if you're a horde player, you'll see them, they'll be PvP flagged. You can go and kill them if you wanted to. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to opt into that and turn it on, you don't have to. And you will be in a completely different phase with all of, the people that don't want to play war mode. And the way that they've managed to set it up is that if you're playing in war mode, you get a little bit increased rewards for the hassle of having to deal with other players. But there's also new gameplay events that will happen as you're playing in the new content. So in Battle for Azeroth stuff in their zones. And we think in the Burning of Teldrassil event, but it seems kind of vague what's actually going to happen with that if you're playing war mode, that there will be these like supply drops that happen, which you can go and loot and get stuff out of, which is awesome. And you get to go and battle over these things with, the opposing faction, which kind of makes world PvP a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more procedural, where you're not necessarily just fighting over, quest mobs and stuff. Like, there's actually things to do in war mode that aren't just, go and find players and gank players. On top of that, if you're killing a ton of players and you haven't died in a while, you're going to get a bounty on your head, which is something that I've been requesting for years, like since vanilla. And all the other enemy players will be able to see you on their map. It'll be a little bounty symbol, and they can go and kill you and get increased conquest rewards for killing you. And I think that's really cool and really fun, because as the bounty marked target, you're like, oh, bring it on. I'm going to try to take you all on. And as the people who are playing in war mode, you're like, oh, there's that guy over there. Let's team up and go kill him, because we get increased rewards from it. I think it's a really cool system. It's one of the smartest changes I've ever seen an MMO do, because PvP servers, non-PvP servers, it's confusing for new players. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when, you're jumping into the game with your friends and they all want to play on a PvP server and you don't know what it means. And then all of a sudden you're getting killed by other players while you're doing questing. You're like, this is not what I want. This isn't fun. But you're kind of trapped in it because that's where your friends are playing. Now that's not the case. If you want to level with your friends and they want to do war mode and you don't, unfortunately, that's not an option. You're either flagged from war mode and you're in the war mode phases, or you're not. And you can't play with players who are or are not. So that's still, the dividing line is still there. So you kind of have to make that call with your friends when they want to play. However, that said, if you're playing in war mode with friends, it is a lot more fun than playing by yourself. And as I was saying earlier, I believe this is now the best time to jump into the game and play it if you've never played it before, for reasons, like the war mode being added and you not having to worry about PvP stuff, but also because they removed the base game of the game. Previously, if you wanted to get into World of Warcraft, you had to buy the base game. You had to buy World of Warcraft, and it would come in a battle chest, which came with all of the other expansions leading up to the current expansion of the game. So, for example, we're in Battle for Azeroth now, technically speaking. So if you wanted to buy a battle chest version of the game, it would get, World of Warcraft and Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor and Legion. It would all be in there, but it would be like $40. And when it would go on sale, it'd be like $10 or $9 or whatever it ended up being. And then you would also have to buy the newest expansion if you wanted to play with all your friends with the new content. And then that's like another $40. And then you're paying your $15 subscription fee. And it's like, whew, that adds up quick. That's an expensive investment into the game. That's no longer there. You literally can just jump into the game. So the free mode is still there. You can play 1 to 20 for free and not have to worry about paying anything, which is awesome. You're restricted in some areas, but you can at least get a taste of the game. And if you're like, yeah, this is fun, I like this, then all you do is subscribe to the game. You pay $15 and you get the base game, all of those expansions I just listed, all the way up to Battle for Azeroth for $15. And that is now yours. And you could go and play for that month that you've subscribed and just do a ton of freaking years of content that if you've never played the game, you've never seen before. And that is a massive steal. That is like one of the best deals in gaming because of how much content is actually within all of those expansions. And then if you get up to level 110, which is the current level cap, and you're like, okay, this is fun. I like this. Legion was fun. I liked that expansion. But you're like, I now want to play with all my friends who are playing Battle for Azeroth. You just buy the expansion and now you're in. So to recap that, just to make it completely clear, if you want to get into World of Warcraft, if you never played the game before, you don't have to buy the game anymore. You just go in, you subscribe to World of Warcraft through Battle.net. You get the base game and all of the expansions leading up to Battle for Azeroth. Just with your subscription, you can go and play and level up and have fun. And then if you want to keep playing, you can, just get Battle for Azeroth and then play the new stuff when it launches this next month. And removing that barrier to entry, which was a pretty big barrier to entry, means that not only is it really easy to get your friends into the game if you're already playing, but it's really easy to get back into the game if you've played and relapsed and haven't played in, a couple expansions, or on top of that, if you just haven't ever played before. It's like literally the best time to ever get back into this game, especially with the launch of a new expansion. That's always the perfect time to get back in, to, experience all the content. You're on an equal level field with everybody else. You're not ahead or behind everybody else. You're on an equal level field, and that is, again, the perfect time to start playing the game. Which, on top of a new feature that they've added into the game called communities, this is the perfect time for you to come play with us. So right now in the game, or rather previously, you had, your servers. You can be on a server, and they had added cross-realm play. So like if you're on a different server than me, I can invite you to a group. We can go do a dungeon or quests or go do anything together. And especially with PvP servers being removed, that is more of a thing now where I can, play with anybody on any server within my region, so North America. Or if I had a character on Europe, it would be kind of the same thing there. But with this, you can essentially be a part of the guild without having to be on our server as well. So we've added an OSWguild community, which is perfect for our guild because we raid with a ton of people who aren't actually in the guild. They're on different guilds on different servers. Well, now you can join this community and be a part of it. That is essentially a guild. It works just like a guild does. And all of our raid events or guild events that we're doing are no longer going to be on our guild calendar. They're going to be on our community calendar. So if you're interested in getting into the game and possibly raiding with us or just doing random content with us, or maybe you just want to jump in, play the game, maybe do a few dungeons, maybe just chat with us, this is the perfect way to do it. In the description of this video, I've placed the community link, which you can go and join. It's never going to expire. You click on it and you get added to the community for whatever character you're going to be added in with. It is on a character basis, not on an account basis. That is a clear change that they've made. Although that may not last for very long. It may change in the future, but currently it is a character-based thing. And then from there, you're essentially in a guild that isn't a guild. And you can go and join whatever guild you want, but you can also be a part of our community where you can talk with us, you can see all the discussion going on that we're currently having, and anytime we set up a new event for Battle for Azeroth, while we're doing Mythic Dungeons or we're doing raiding, then all of that will be on the community calendar rather than the guild calendar because it's just easier for us to manage all of our players that we have that way. On top of that, the hardest rating in World of Warcraft is Mythic Rating, and in its current iteration, you couldn't play cross-server with it, really. So at the end of Legion, if we wanted to go do Mythic Rating, you pretty much had to either be on Mataran or the Dawnbringer server because they're connected realms. But if you wanted to Mythic Raid with us, you were on a different server, it's just you couldn't do it. You would have to transfer your character to our server. Now, with Battle for Azeroth, once the top 100 guilds have cleared the final boss of the new raid, Mythic Rating for that raid tier opens up to everybody across all realms. So that way, if you're on a different server than us, you can come and do Mythic Rating with us. And I think that is such a freaking smart change. In fact, all of these changes that they've done have meant that this is not only the perfect time to join into World of Warcraft, but the perfect time to go and play with other people that you want to play with, because there's so many less restrictions than there were before. So, if you're a new player and you've never played the game before, this is what you do. You go to Battle.net, you subscribe to the game. You get all of the base games up until the new expansion. You can go and play and do whatever you want. Hop into the description of this video, click on the link for our community, and join our community. Bam, you're not only in the game and playing the game, but you're also in the game playing the game with people that you want to play with. Awesome people that are not only going to answer your questions, but also help you get better, especially if you've never played the game. On top of that, if you get to 110 and you're like, this is a great experience, then you can just buy Battle for Azeroth and keep playing with all the new content with everybody else when the expansion launches in August. It is like the easiest thing ever now compared to before, which was just a headache trying to get people to play with you. It's that easy. So if you want to come play with us, join our community. There are a couple stipulations with that, though. Don't be a butthead, and don't bother people that don't want to be bothered. Outside of that, just, you know, be normal. It's just, our viewers are awesome. Our guild and our community that we do have is freaking awesome, and people are going to answer your questions. But just as long as you're not a butthead, people are going to be like, oh, hey, a new person who's asking questions. Cool. Sure. Well, you know, we'll help them out. That's just how our community is. It's really fun and accepting of new players, because new players means more people for us to play with. And that's always a good thing. And we have quite a bit of people to play with to begin with, but it means that, you know, finding groups for Mythic Plus stuff is a lot easier the more people that you have. And our players know that. So with all of that said, I want to know whether or not you're going to jump into the game and play it for the first time, whether you're going to come back and play for Battle for Azeroth, or whether you've been like me and have been playing since Legion launched. Because I believe that Legion has been their best expansion. They've added the most amount of content in this expansion than they have previously, and most consistent amount of content. And Legion has had its issues with like the legendary system and the artifact system being a little grindy, but overall I think they've learned from that, and with Battle for Azeroth it may very well be their best expansion yet, which is a great place to be for a game. Come play with us, come join our community, let me know in the comments whether or not you are getting back into the game, and with all that being said, we shall see you guys next time.